Hi y'all, welcome to my channel, welcome to a new video. Girlfriend of the Year. Girlfriend of Television. Gfoty. Gfotv. Album review, let's talk about it. Girlfriend of the Year, I will just call her Polly because that's her first name. She has been making waves for a while now. She has been signed onto the PC Music label since 2013, dropped her debut EP in 2014, and has dropped EPs sporadically since then. It was up until 2018 that she was on the PC Music label, and then she left. She became an indie artist and released her first single in 2018 titled Boy Next Door. Then she released her EP after that, If You Think I'm a Bitch, You Should Meet Girlfriend of the Year. But this is the debut album, so she had to make a splash. A lot of what's on this album, however, is memorable, certainly, but not in the best way. It's really funny, just looking at the reception of this album. It's atrocious. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people actually hate it. And Girlfriend of the Year was very much a pariah, or the weird black sheep in PC music. She was the oddball. She was the one that was eccentric, wild. Her EPs showcased that, while still having a sense of musicality as well. But on this album, it sounds like, this debut album is an 11-track, 11-minute album, and most of the songs don't even breach the 1-minute mark. Most of them are about 40-50 seconds, and the last track on this thing, called Good Night, is a 4-minute track that's basically just this piano passage. I don't know if it's maybe me being the way I think. I feel like a lot of people kind of miss the point of this album. Instead of them knocking it off as lazy or unfinished or jumbled up garbage, I feel like this was intentionally bad. I feel like no work or effort was put into this. It shows. It painfully shows. Like, you can't say this album had effort put into it. I mean, it had effort, obviously, but you can't say it had, like, a great amount of effort in there. Very little effort went into this album. And I feel like Polly wanted to do that. I feel like she wanted to alienate her fan base for some reason. And why, you might ask? I don't know. I don't know why. She is known for this weird style of music that PC music just... It was very hard to contain at some points. Going into this album, I didn't know what to expect. But I've heard worse albums than this. Certainly worse albums than this. This year, I've heard worse albums than this. So I'm kind of at a loss, really, because I'm listening to this thing and there are points where I find it funny, there are points where I find it endearing, and there are points where I find it slightly embarrassing. Just slightly. I had a weird feeling that I was gonna want to talk about this album because I did put it down on a list of, albums to talk about, but then I have my list for album review catch-up, and this is highlighted, but there's just something about this album that's just so weird and meandering. It kind of just keeps me thinking a lot. 10 tracks talk about television shows. You got from Spongebob to Arthur, many others, and this is basically just a very childish description of these shows. The Spongebob song, Under the Sea, basically describes SpongeBob, his starfish friend Patrick, and Squidward. The way she describes Squidward is he has very long legs, and the way she says it's just really funny. A lot of what's on this album is bad distortion and bad auto-tune on the vocals. Piss poor, like really bad production choices. This album bleeds into one song and the next, so it's kind of a concept album, but there's just something about this album that just, I don't know. It's not a usual album. This is not a normal album. And I think that the barrier that it breaks makes it all the more intriguing. Because you can call this music, but what definition does music have when you're listening to this? It feels like the term music is null and void. Yes, it does sound rushed. Yes, it does sound sloppy, and it does sound half-assed, but I feel like that's what Polly wanted. She wanted to basically go with her debut album and just say, fuck it, and release 11 minutes of just crap. And I don't know, I just find something about that to be very odd, weird, different. Kind of like how Metallica and Lou Reed made Lulu. Because that album could be looked at as like this big trolling scheme. And that's how I see this album. I mean, you can't look at the cover art to this thing and say, that's a serious album. That is a serious album. A serious album with a serious album cover. Come on. This album art is sloppy. It's a mess. Just like this album. I can't help but feel that this is just one big troll. One big joke that Polly is playing on all of these people. And I mean, for the most part it worked. Because a lot of people seem to be very angry with this because they were like, man, I'm super excited to see what the next Girlfriend of the Year album is. And then she drops this and everyone's like, what the hell? I have a theory about this album. And maybe it's concept, I don't know. But I feel like this is what like a child goes through right before they die. Because you think about this, all of these shows are like children or teenage shows, so that's the main audience. I feel like this album is what the child or the teenager is thinking right before they die. But also this child has like dementia, so they're trying to remember very faintly what they have in their memories, but they can't really pinpoint all this stuff. They can't pinpoint plot details or more characters other than the main characters. They just kind of say details about these main characters and like what they are, who they are, at the like basic level. And at the end of this album, we just have this piano passage. And obviously I feel like that signifies that the child or the teenager has passed. Sorry to disappoint all of you or make you all sad. That's just how I feel. But I don't think a child died in this case. I just like to make weird comparisons to albums because to me it's just so weird, it's so wacky, it's so off the wall. I just couldn't talk about it in a short, brief segment. How can you tell me that this is worse than Lil Mosey? How can you tell me that this is worse than Nostalgia Critic's The Wall? How can you tell me this is worse than Chance the Rapper's The Big Day? How can you tell me that this is worse than Logic's Supermarket or Logic's Confession of a Dangerous Mind? Because those albums seem to have been worked on for so long, and they came out horrifically bad. Abhorrently bad. I don't know, I can't look at this and give it such a negative score because I feel like it's just a little endearing, a little wacky for a reason. It's poorly made for a reason. It's awfully produced for a reason. It has bad vocals for a reason. That's not because I, think Girlfriend of the Year is a bad artist, but has some redeeming qualities about her. She's shown to have talent. So when you have this album come through and it's talentless, but it doesn't feel like it was worked on all that much, I feel like something's up. I feel like this isn't a project that should just be written off completely. Girlfriend of the Year probably made one of the most controversial albums this year. Probably. At least in the music scene. Not in like popular culture because barely anyone knows who she is. But I feel like she's made one of the more outstanding, controversial releases this year because of this album right here. It's just bad on purpose, but I feel like people are being trolled. It's, to me, kind of funny, because I can look at this album and say, you know, there are qualities about it that are enjoyable. Some of the vocal inflections are really funny, the auto-tune is really funny, the lyrics sometimes can be a little funny, and the piano passage is so rudimentary, it's just laughable. At the end of the day, I can't look at this and say, this isn't a troll, this was a legit project. I can't say that because it doesn't sound like it. And maybe that's why maybe you are watching this video, maybe you don't like this album, and that's up to you to decide what you like and don't like. That's fine. But to me, this album is at points hilariously bad, very poorly produced, for a reason, on purpose. I think that quality about it just kind of makes it all the more better, personally. So, Girlfriend of the Year, Gfotv. I'll give it a B-. I mean, I don't know. It's just a weird project. Maybe I like weird projects. I don't know. Anyway, outro. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this album down below, and let me know what albums you want me to review next, and that is it. Leave a like, comment, share, do whatever you want. Let me know how I can improve future videos down below, and remember, this is only my opinion, because music is subjective.